You know, this time of year there's not a whole lot to eat out in the woods, but these basswood buds are pretty good. They're frozen right now, but still quite edible. Those basswood buds are great for a sore throat too. A lot of people have the flu and cold this time of year, sore throats. Eat a few of those basswood buds and it makes your throat feel a lot better. Every time I go hiking, I always end up in the pines because that's where I take my break and get a break from the wind. I woke up yesterday morning, it was 3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is way below freezing temperature. Woke up this morning, it was 5 degrees, but I still, I had to get out and go for a hike and just, burn off some calories and just get revitalized. And every time I go out, I can't help but eat something. Now these white pine needles, they're full of vitamin C. It's another great thing for when you have a cold. You can boil them up. Well, you can steep them and make tea and get that vitamin C. If you boil them, you kill the vitamin C and you might as well not even bother. But you can eat them right off the tree too and get that vitamin C. You don't have to make tea. You can make the tea right in your mouth. That's the way I do it. I can't make fires around here usually. There's only a few spots I can make fires. And it doesn't keep me from being able to come out here and eat these wild edibles. I just chew on these pine needles, extract that vitamin C and pine flavor out of them. And when I get tired of chewing on them, I just spit them out. Works good for me. Now these little spruce trees, that's another good resource. We can do the same thing with those. Don't have to boil the needles. We can just take and chew them up. Extract that vitamin C and nutrients out of there and spit out the fibers when we're done. Now for me, the spruce has a much stronger turpentine taste than the white pine. I prefer the white pine if I can find it, but it's a great resource. Another great wintertime resource is the buds of these cottonwood trees. Now this cottonwood tree is young, but cottonwood trees are known for getting struck by lightning, so it's not a good idea to build a shelter near one if you're out in a storm, because you're likely going to get hit by lightning. And you can see this one's got a big split down it, which is probably from a prior lightning strike. But you can harvest these buds in the late winter when they start to swell and make balm of Gilead, which is good for rubbing on sore aching joints, arthritis, sore muscles, stuff like that. Plus, you can simply eat the buds even before they start to swell, and there's still some of that sticky balm in there, which is medicinal. Plus the cottonwood, being in the willow family, has salicin in it, which is basically the equivalent of aspirin, and that's good for aches and pains, and it's good for reducing fever as well. So there's another great wintertime resource, the cottonwood, or all willows for that matter. One of the most abundant bushes, shrubs, and trees in the world. Well, you get out in the wintertime, everything's covered with snow and there's moisture and everything, but you can still find dry tinder if you know where to look. This is an old fallen ash tree, and if I just peel back the bark, there's all kinds of dry tinder right there, just waiting for me to pick it up and turn it into fire. No processing required. We can do the same thing with the cottonwood tree, and a bunch of other trees too for that matter. We just got to look for it. You know, this time of year, everybody's coming down with the flu and the common cold. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I never get a cold, but I rarely get colds, and when I do, they're usually not that bad. And I think a lot of the reason is simply because I get out in the winter and I get what limited sun I can on my face and my skin, which provides me with vitamin D, which fights off sickness. And also, I nibble on these things as I walk through the woods and I'm on my hikes, and they provide me with those micronutrients that keep me from getting a cold. They keep my body strong, and they keep me healthy throughout the winter. These things were put here for a reason, and that's for us to use. The mighty oak. The white oak is the symbol of health, the white oak leaf. But when it comes to health, we don't need just the white oak. Any oak will work. Any oak around here where I live will work. The red oak, the northern red oak, will work just fine. The inner bark has tannin in it. Many other plants have tannin as well, and it's antiseptic. It can be used to cleanse wounds. You can make a tea with it and cleanse wounds with it, and it can also be made into a tea and drank to get rid of internal problems as well. It is a plant that needs to be used with caution because the tannin in oaks is considered a carcinogen, so you don't want to use a lot of it. It's something you would want to consult with a doctor or a professional herbalist to make sure that you're not killing yourself when you're trying to heal yourself. But there is a misconception out there that you need the white oak to extract the tannin from, and that's not the case. Most oaks, if not all oaks, have tannin that will work just as well. Now when I'm out, I can, even if I'm in an area that I'm not familiar with, because I know the plants and I know where they grow, high or low, dry or wet, I can look at a topographical map, or I can get up on a high hill or climb up in a tree for that matter and get a view of the area, and I can find the low spots and the high spots, and I can find the resources based on that. You know, we're in a low spot right here, so there's lots of good tinder. There's cattails right here. The cattail fluff makes a decent flash tinder. It's really not my favorite, but it does fluff up real nice. I find that it's hard to get it to stay lit though, to be honest with you, and I've used it a lot. I have quite a bit of experience with it. But the grasses and the stalks of the cattail make great tinder for starting a fire. They're usually dry because they're up out of the snow and water, and they got wind blowing on them. And these Phragmites reeds are becoming even more popular. They're starting to take over the cattails, as a matter of fact, and they make excellent tinder. Probably the best tinder there is. Flash tinder, that is. I mean, that's just a little pre-made cotton ball fireball just ready to be ignited with just the slightest little spark. And they burn extremely well. And you wouldn't just use those fuzzy heads, you'd use these stalks as well to start your fire. The fuzzy head would be the initial flame, and the stalk would be what gets your fire going after that, and then you would just pile small sticks on and you'd be all set. Pretty much get a fire going with wet wood if you were using this as a base material for starting your fire. And there's plenty of it. Now here's another opposite branched tree. You can see it right there. Now this is a really small tree, but it's opposite branched. I know it's a maple. Any maple can be tapped for its sap, and anytime the temperatures are above freezing in the daytime and go below freezing at night, I could probably extract purified drinking water that has nutrients and sugar in it, carbohydrates, which is important, especially in the wintertime, as fuel to keep me warm and give me energy. I can extract that from this tree. I don't need to boil it or anything. I can drink it straight out of the tree. We can extract drinkable liquid from the grapevine as well, although in my experience it's not nearly as reliable as a maple or something. But it's a resource, and if we know enough of these different resources, we're much more likely to be able to find drinkable liquid without the need to boil it. Because I think we all know, we can watch TV shows and we quickly realize that even the experts can't really produce drinkable water unless they have a container that they can boil that water in. So it's a good idea to know plants that we can drink the liquid from to get liquid in our body so we don't have to boil that water. And at least that way we stand a better chance of surviving if we were in a situation. Now these Hazel Catkins, they're not very tasty, but it's the only shrub I know personally that gets the catkins in the summer right through the winter time. So it's easy to distinguish. And those catkins are edible. They're not great, but hey, they provide some nutrition. Now, being winter, and considering we've had lots of rain through the summer and even in the winter here, a lot of these sumac berries have probably had a lot of the vitamin C and nutrients leached out of them, but we can still take those berry clusters even in the late winter like this, as long as they're not rotten, and we can put them in cold water and let them steep, and we can extract that vitamin C and nutrients out of there and flavor and drink it and get energy. It beats drinking plain water because it's got nutrients and a small amount of energy in there we can use. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. I just was wanting to get out for a hike today, and I figured I'd look around and see what plants I could find to, be in the middle of winter. Maybe I could still find something to eat out here. There's plenty more plants out here, but I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to go ahead and head down this creek, just hike on down through here, through the woods, and enjoy the day. Anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks for all the comments and support.